Gnosia is a dark psychological thriller playing out in a confined space and time. The series features a deeply branched, mysterious storyline with dark corners the author and the viewer does not see into, while every episode needs a concise and solid storyline by itself, independently. The show likes to challenge, destabilize, even torture the characters, leaving nothing to the boring certainty. Now, without further ado, let's seek into the depths of the spoiled lines. The show introduces us to the main protagonist, Yuri, who manages to wake up on a board of a spaceship with no recollection of any past events. As he slowly clears his confusion, he is introduced to the crew members. Setsu, who he is the closest with, Gina and Rekio, and lastly SQ. Each character in the show is very sharply defined, almost to the point that we can say that each character represents one trait of humanity, like intelligence, shyness, or perfect loyalty to the goal. Yuri learns that he was basically isekai'd into an Among Us video game and that the situation is throwing him under the bus at any possible moment. To explain the name, the Gnosia are the people infected by Gnos. Their goal is to kill all humans and take over the spaceships for themselves. They lie and intrigue, and they do this by design as it feels completely natural to them. Unless you knew the person before and notice a lie in their doings, it is pretty much impossible to say who is infected and who is a free human. The Gnos causes a sort of a mysterious melody that spreads through the galaxy. The Gnosia overtake whole planets until all who are left are infected. Humans are quite smart about handling contagion though, and this means you and your crew get into real trouble if you find Gnosia signal on your ship. Basically, the whole galaxy cuts you off, and the ship default setting is to auto-destruct itself to prevent spreading the infection. This makes a perfect setup for a horror story. We begin on an isolated starship hovering in deep space. The ship AI computer called Levy makes a deal with the crew to not immediately destroy the ship after a Gnosia is detected on board. Apparently, Levy really likes to play Among Us with humans and exchanges the possibility to witness the game in real life for postponing the ship auto-destruction. Each day the crew votes for most likely candidate to be put into a cold sleep, a primitive method of space travel that might actually kill the people or leave them permanently compromised. We do not see much survivors after this cold sleep. On the other hand, the Gnosia eliminate one human every day during a warp jump. It's an interesting concept to me, as while humans and everything else on the ship is frozen in warp spacetime, the Gnosia can think and move around the ship as they please and take as much time as they want to build their evil plans together without being detected by the ship artificial intelligence. Be smart, cunning, and unemotional, and the crew might survive. Make a single mistake, and you are eliminated, and provide a way for further manner of spreading the infection into humans and other conscious species. Yuri, at this point, as an empty amnesia character, can only put together a single paragraph of thought, and that is the appreciation for being alive and wishing the real humans good luck in the war as he gets lost in the terror of the first episode. What is most surprising that while it is totally expected how such a game story can evolve, Gnosia throws an inventive surprise at you at every turn. The Gnosia as expected win at first, but in a twist of fate, Yuri is looped into an endless string of parallel realities living on the same day from the first episode. He collects memories, mostly bad ones, while trying to figure out how to save the crew he barely knows. We see the main character being torn by a Gnosia he believed to be a human, only to wake up and live through the same day and running into the same, now innocent character right away. He pretty much falls apart just from this encounter, and this trauma makes him inadvertently throw Setsu, the character who helped him survive the last time, under the bus, just digging the despair deeper and helping the Gnosia in the end. This concept grows massively with many new characters added through the episodes and also special characters and rules being deployed. What if some characters are special and do not like staying on the ship with other characters even though they are human? What happens if there is more than one Gnosia on the ship? Now suddenly, even if you froze one of them, the ship AI still detects Gnosia presence on board. Thus, you cannot tell if you froze a human or Gnosia. But what if there is a special character on board of the ship that can tell if a frozen character was a human or a Gnosia? How does this change the logic of the story? What is an optimal strategy? How does the Gnosia react to the presence of these special persons? And what if your counter strategy can be easily countered? In the end, how many situations can the parallel universes bring? What makes the story remarkable is the amazing consistency of these character behaviors and logical rules, which enables a smart viewer with a bit of replaying to correctly identify which character is the Gnosia and which is human. As an example, in episode 4, Rakio, which is normally very loud and accusative of Yuri, suddenly stays very quiet, something a Gnosia possessing a very high intelligence would do. This relentless growth of complexity also brutally forces Yuri to take up more substantial space as a character, from a confused amnesiac up to a psychopathic genius, defeating even Rakio at times thanks to leveraging his emotional skills, defeating pure logic. What is remarkable is that this happens in the span of just a few episodes, and what is even more remarkable is that this actually feels believable to the viewer, like an organic development under immense pressure, not just a plot handling out a brutal power-up to the character in an appropriate point of the fight. I cannot help but to draw parallels between this kind of storytelling in Gnosia and another masterpiece in Death Note. Both see brutal, life-threatening conditions. Both see the main characters breaking their arms and legs just to survive to the next episode and grow exponentially in their wits and capabilities and scale of the conflict. Both set clear and solid rules only for the characters to find a way to change a limitation into an advantage. I hope some fans of Death Note might find quite some enjoyment in Gnosia as well. The story is full of small details. As an example, I can say that the ship artificial intelligence get upset about a game being named as 3D chess, or more remarkably, there is a huge fish tank included on board of a spaceship, which not only screams luxury, but also contains fish which seemingly represent each character on the ship and also the interactions in between themselves. This fish tank can probably be turned into its own fun storyline by dedicated theory crafters. The horror feeling is also very strong and makes you want to hide under a car like a scared kitty. The tense atmosphere underlines every character interaction, even friendly and funny ones, as they can change to carnage by a single word or decision. I decided to leave any spoilers on this out so that you can enjoy the atmosphere. The motivation of the main character are warped and change as the time progresses. What seemed as a very clear goal, ergo to defeat the Gnosia and save the crew, dissolves into many intricate storylines. Suddenly, the Gnosia might not be so bad. Suddenly, the danger might come from the saved humans. Suddenly, the goal changes to just chill out and learn as much as possible about all the other characters on the ship. Suddenly, the main character notices that even if he saves the crew and himself, he might just get stuck living the same horror loop forever. The story never gives a clear goal and leaves this to the fanservice to figure out. The motive we see slowly sprout up is the love story between Yuri and Setsu. Slowly but surely, it becomes a driving factor and leads the story to its conclusion. The largest criticism I have of the series is that while the story builds up tension and anticipation remarkably well, it somewhat falters towards the end. One of the possibilities is to end the story at episode 15, when Yuri uncovers the truth, which makes the universe and storyline ends just as abruptly as it began out of nowhere. Instead, we apparently go on a journey to tie up all the loose ends. We need to solve the mystery of how Setsu obtained its silver key. How? Well, we find it randomly on the first planet we see outside of the spaceship. This is obviously a plot cheat, and I cannot find to like the fact that we build a deep and unsettling atmosphere of all the story being located in a claustrophobic, creepy spaceship where anybody can overhear you just to break free to explore a huge universe containing exactly a single planet. Then I think the most disgraceful moment is when Yuri utters that filling up the second key took him 10 times longer than the first one, just for the sake of making his sacrifice seem more dramatic to the viewer. Other than this being questionable based on my understanding how the keys work, it is really disgraceful to the nice and complex story made in the first episodes. Here, a 30-second cutscene, that is 100 episodes that you never got to see. With every frame containing cool situation, we only get to turn into a story in our heads. I see a conflict here, with the authors clearly leaving a lot of space for thought and theories, loose ends of mystery through the series, only to seemingly in panic try to fill all the holes up as the runtime ends, making the ending feel somewhat forced and in conflict with the mysterious world building in the beginning of the series. In my view, such a story do not need to have a consistent 100% explanation of all the things in the end, and that is what makes them so great. Thankfully, the story manages to pick up, and we somehow manage to find the last loophole that leads to our heroes reconnecting at the very beginning episode and ending more or less happily and satisfactory. In the end, Gnosia is really fit for a slow watch, one episode at a time with large gaps in between. Only then does the mystery seem to come out. Or at least I needed that myself to really catch up to all the internal intricacies of the story. In conclusion, I fully recommend the show and hope you find good time watching it. Your General Al, signing off.